fiction, science fiction, horror, fantasy, crime, LGBT, thriller.
You have now entered the House of Mystery with your hosts, Eric Shapiro, David North Martino, John Copenhaver, and Al Warren. Heard on KCAA 106.5 FM Los Angeles,
102.3 FM Riverside,
and 105.0 AM Palm Springs.
Welcome back into the House of Mystery, and of course I'm Al Warren, and Mr. Martino is playing soccer in
soccer.
You got to do something different.
Yeah,
I was thinking about you.
Yeah,
like what kind of exercise are you getting? I mean, you're doing that karate stuff, but come on.
Yeah, I'm working hard, Al.
You're working hard on the cheeseburgers.
Yeah, well, that too. I get to fuel up.
You got to fuel up, so you.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because I met Ed Cleaves, you know, the writer there in Seattle, and we were down in the marketplace in Seattle, and we were talking, and as we're walking down the main thing, you know, it's crowded with people, and there was this guy in the middle of the sidewalk. Think of 1,000 people walking up and down the road, going to the market and restaurants. A guy in the middle of it all, doing exactly what you do. He was showing his karate moves.
Oh, cool!
And I laughed, and I said, "Hey, we should actually film this and send it to Dave."
You should have.
And say, "Look, we found Dave in Seattle."
I'm going to Seattle.
Yeah, he was exactly like you, but he had his shirt off. But, you know,
nobody wants to see that.
Well, no, but he was younger too, and skinnier, but you know, but he wasn't. I don't think he was as good. Just so you know, I don't think.
Well, I'm sure he wasn't. I mean,
I don't think he was as good. And
I never thought of becoming a martial art busker.
Yeah, think about it. Stand in the middle of the road, put your hat down there, and what have you got to lose?
Nothing.
I don't think the cops will arrest you.
Well, they might.
especially in that area. They seem much worse. Come on, you know, that's mild. That's
okay. Any record that I get in Seattle won't transfer here, so.
Yeah, they can't extradite you, so
no.
As long as it's not murder. So you guys can have a battle of the ninja nerds.
Ninja battle.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, speaking of battles, now we've got someone that's a writer that's been doing some interesting books here, a mystery kind of thing. We'll find out more about it. So let's bring her in and talk about her new book called How to Kill a Kingpin. And this is Gabrielle St. George. Thank you for being here.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Really happy to be aboard.
Well, we'll see at the end of the show how happy we are here. You never
I'm happy
know.
at the moment.
Happy at the moment. Relaxed. All that. Well, you seem like such a nice lady. So how do you get into writing crime and mystery and suspense, thriller sort of thing like that? Is this sort of something you've known you were going to do all your life, or is this something that just happened after you killed maybe your second or third partner?
Yeah, maybe I only seem like a nice lady. That is true. Quite possible. And no, I've always been, I'm a Scorpio rising, Alan. Okay. I've always been, attracted to mystery and darker things, and also terrified of them for sure. But, I was a screenwriter. I was in film in university, and that's what I first did for a living, and worked on police shows and stuff like that. So that was just my background, but I have always loved that. Started out with Nancy Drew, of course.
I think I've heard of her. Well, you know, but when you do this sort of thing, like before you put your first book out, the very first book you're writing, was there a particular event or thing that happened to you, or something that you came across that made you want to actually write and publish a book?
Yes, that would be a divorce and the quest for revenge.
Okay. Was that the first partner that you killed, or the second? I just, get that in line here. No, I mean, but what is it? The anger and emotions that are related with a separation kind of led you to do this?
Maybe a little more extreme. We could throw around words like stalking and things like that. So yeah, there was definitely a danger element for quite some time in my world, but my books are funny. So they're humorous mysteries. And I've always loved mystery, like I said, and thrillers, but I've always written funny. And I actually feel like that's a high calling. I feel like if someone can write or act funny, one should. I think one of the toughest jobs in the world has got to be like a stand-up comedian. But I do think it's a high calling. I've always been an entertainer, I would say, even as a child. And it can be a survival mechanism too, for sure. Even I have 4 kids. I had 4 kids in 5 years. So they're all little and loads of fun. But so many days so many times on so many days, I would think, wow, I can either laugh or I can cry. And I just always choose to laugh.
Well, do you feel that you need, maybe just like a stand-up comedian, do you feel in writing prose fiction and making it humorous that you need, I guess, a sense of comedic timing? Is there like a timing that needs to be, I guess, employed to make the novel funny?
I mean, I'm totally aware of the necessity of that, the need for that in the structure and, in every beat of every scene. But I don't know if it's a higher force coming down. I don't really have to try. I don't really have to think about that. It just all comes pretty naturally, which I guess is just a blessing. I don't really have to consider that. But at the same time that I was saying that I feel like I am basically an entertainer, but I'm really good with that. At the same time, I'm this like extreme introvert. And I think like some actors and I know a lot of writers are obviously, but it's a real dichotomy because I'm an entertainer and, whether I'm with my kids or at a party, which I don't go to more than I have to, but, I still will need that time to recuperate. But then when I'm out there, I'm the life of the party. So it's just a natural thing. I think it's kind of weird. It is a weirdness. I'm weird.
An extroverted introvert.
Yeah.
Yeah. My kids call me a high functioning introvert. Yeah. I think that's about right.
I like that.
Yeah. Well, myself, I have the same issue, and I've found over 60 years, I've learned it's about having the controlled setting. So like the book can be a controlled setting, or it could be like the radio show. It could be, and I can be as wild as I can be, but, it's got to be in the right location and the right venue, so to speak, right kind of medium. So it's getting to be aware of where I'm at and what I'm doing. So I understand what you're saying, but I wonder if, do you ever worry about kind of crossing the PC correctness now with writing and in some cases, maybe being humorous about something that's maybe not funny to others? Do you ever think about that or not?
I'm super aware of that. And it's the very last thing I want to do. So just in my daily life or just online, I don't exactly love social media. I do what I need to do on there, or I probably don't do what I need to do. I should do way more than I do on there. But one of the things I hate about it is the cruelty and the offensiveness to marginalized groups in particular. But I always use an editor myself before I send my book to my publisher, and she does a sensitivity read for me. And what I found, I haven't ever had the issue of something has been not politically correct, but words have been, and I don't want to do that. So she is really great and will point out words like, say the word lame, you know,
Yeah.
your character says, wow, that's really lame. Well, this is offensive to disabled people. They don't want us to use that word, so I'm not using it. Or even like, now say fat phobic words, you know, that will offend people. And I'm glad I want to keep getting smarter. I want to keep being made more aware of things that, you know, I don't stumble upon on my own. Also, because in my book, there's a lot of crazy people, but then the sensitivity reader will give me like, don't use the word crazy, don't use whack job, don't use loony, and it's like, what can I say? And she'll like, bananas, don't use bananas. Like, shit. So that after a while, I actually like lost like 80% of the words that she was saying. And then I left a few crazies in. So yeah, there's all that, but I don't want to be that person who definitely knowingly or unknowingly offends anyone. That's not my jam at all.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to be aware as well, but I'm also from, I'm Gen X, so I do have a generational thing. So, I'm not quite sure of the anger behind some of it. Like some of it is just like you say, let's say you said the word lame. It wouldn't even cross my mind because that's just how we talked until someone brings it to my attention. You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of anger, that comes at you on social media and you're not even aware of it until it happens, just for being who you are.
You mean if you've offended someone?
Yeah, like sometimes you can just you can be talking with someone and go, yeah, that was pretty lame, for instance. Let's say you say that. That was just something he said in the 80s. That was just not really a big deal. But
it's good to know, though, right? It's
yeah,
good to
no,
learn.
I
We used to
appreciate
use the word
it.
colored folk, right? And that
Yeah.
used to be used, but it's not okay. And we all figured that out. And we can figure out the terms that disabled people, you know, want us to use and not use. And like I said, it's good for the brain. Just bring it, you know, tell me and I'll do my best always.
Yeah, exactly. I think I have the same attitude. I think that once I know, I'll try to do the best. It's not like someone's going to correct me and then I keep saying it. You know, I'll be aware of it. But you know, sometimes it's weird because we do deal with people at different ages, and baby boomers are even more select in their choice of words.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, boomer.
Yeah. Well, you know, you do what you can. So now this is part of a series, I believe, right? This book. Is this book 2 of a series?
This is book 2. So book 1 came out last November 21, and that was called How to Murder a Marriage. And book 2 coming out in a couple weeks is How to Kill a Kingpin. And then next year, How to Bury a Billionaire.
Wow.
Which I'm looking forward to skewering very rich people because it's the only group I'm actually prejudiced against, I have to say. Yeah.
Well, you know.
And personal experience, very, very close personal experience, the super rich.
No,
don't like them.
I agree. To a certain extent, when someone comes from money and they're born into money and they have money, I'm not really interested in them. And I'm certainly not interested in them being a politician, for instance, because they can't relate to 90% of the people. They don't know what it's like to wake up and survive the world. So it's not really someone I'm interested in. I agree totally. But you know, when you do these series, do you have this kind of outlined in your head? You kind of seem to know what book 2 and book 3 is even going to be and where it's at. So it's just kind of all mapped out in your brain somewhere, and then you're just filling in the details as you go.
I'm actually a title person, and I come up with the title first, which is bizarre, but also they're really character driven. And the first book it's pretty autobiographical, quasi autobiographical, keep me out of court. And the main character is a lot like me, but she's a lot better than me. She's smarter and funnier and braver and a little bit more of everything than me. But, and the first book takes place and the second book takes place like the next week. So far I'm not, you know, going over a lot of time. But as my background as a screenwriter is outline, outline, outline. And that's what I'm comfortable with. And I did outline the first book. And then it was an incredible experience for me when the characters just took over and I was just literally the stenographer. And it was really cool, really fascinating. And so the same thing happened with book 2. So I'm kind of hoping it happens with book 3, because right now I only know the bones of the story and I have to start that yesterday.
Well, with going from screenwriting to prose, how did you find that? Did you have difficulty transferring over, or did you just find that it was natural to write in a longer prose form?
No, it was really painful, terrible, awful. Hated it. I have a super short attention span, and I love short books. I don't pick up really long books. I can't watch really long movies. I love short things, and writing like 85,000 words was excruciating for me. A good exercise. But the thing I loved most about writing books, and that's what it was so great, was, in screenwriting, nothing can be on the page if it's not on the screen. So you don't go inside people's heads. We don't get to know anyone's thoughts. It's what they say and what they do. If it's not on the screen, it's not on the page. And being able to be inside a character's head and express their thoughts there's so much freedom in that for me. Really liberating. That's the part I like best. So I write in first person because then I get to do it nonstop.
Well, along the same line, do you have when you're creating these characters, do you have an inner monologue in your head? Can you hear the characters? I'm just trying to find out if you're hearing voices, actually. But
yeah, yeah.
Or is it more visual?
Well, a lot of reviewers have said that my book kind of reads like a script, or they can see it as a TV series. And we are negotiating with a production company in LA right now. And I think that part just came natural. I didn't try for that, but my favorite part of writing the book is the dialogue. I'm good at dialogue, and that's a natural thing for me. It's the easiest thing. So that's probably why I like it the best. I don't write really long description. I don't like reading really long description, but yeah, the dialogue, they get in the room, the characters get in the room and they just start talking to each other. And again, I'm a very fast writer, and sometimes it's just like I'm writing as fast as I can type.
Wow.
Well, and I want to come back to a part here when you said the main character, and you talk about her as being so much more than you and all that. So what is your relationship with that main character? And is this really something you want to be? Is this something you fantasize about being, this character? Or is this someone completely out of the blue?
No, I mean, we have a lot in common. Like I said, she's actually a relationship advice, like self-help book author. That's her job. And has like a blog and podcast and all these kinds of things that, giving, she's like a modern day Miss Lonely Hearts. So in the book, I had her move to, not joking, a little cabin on the shores of Lake Huron in this little town that I had been to. And she was just, she had a bad divorce, an ex who was stalking her, and 4 kids who live overseas. So she was really copying me. And then table flipped and I started copying her. I had no intention of leaving the Toronto area to move to a little cabin on the shores of Lake Huron. But here I am, after I wrote the book, and just like a cabin, just like the one I described. So I say life imitating art, imitating life. It's kind of what this book is about. One thing I did do, I thought was just be kind of fun. She writes these self-help books on relationship advice and dating and stuff. And so I actually wrote 3 of them. They're published by the same publisher who did the book, How to Murder Marriage. And so the books are written by her. She's called the Ex Whisperer. That's her handle. So the books are written by the Ex Whisperer, just ghost written by me. And they're nonfiction guides, like how to know if he's having an affair, and another one is how to say so long to Mr. Wrong, and things like that. And one on narcissism.
Wow. It's kind of a curious thing then. Where do you get your characters from? Like, where do you think they come from? Are they from people you know, people you've been around, maybe those you've experienced or seen, or where does it come from for you?
Yeah, definitely from people I know. Although some characters are amalgamations of, a few people put together, because, some people are not that interesting. There's just things about them that are interesting. I got to combine them with others. But definitely people I know. And I really do ascribe to that philosophy that should have been nicer to me if you didn't want me to write about you like that.
Well, have any of your characters done anything to surprise you? Have they kind of gone off the rails and kind of, taken over the plot and decided to go in a different direction?
Yeah. Her ex-husband, Gina, her name is the main character, her ex-husband in the first book, who is kind of scary, or I think is scary. I think people thought there was a lot of kind of thriller elements to the book. And she really did hate him. And in book 2, I was really surprised when he was hanging around and he was less threatening and became a bit of the comic relief. And he's in the books now. He's there. And again, life imitating art, imitating life. My ex-husband and I are on speaking terms, which I wouldn't have predicted a few years ago. So since she's talking to her ex, I'm talking to my ex now, just me and Gina copying each other in life.
Well, at the end of the day, if someone picks up this book, or first of all, they don't have to read each one. Like, you don't have to read the first one to just pick up number 2 here, do you?
I'm going to say no. That's actually an interesting question that I haven't thought about. I think I'm so close to them right now that I'm not sure. You could definitely pick up book 2, yeah, and hop in for sure. Yeah, you could.
And so when you do that, is there a purpose that you want, or some sort of subtext? Is there something that you want the reader to take away from the book besides the actual entertainment or story and things going on?
I think there is. I wrote an article in the winter for Crime Reads on soft-boiled mysteries and how important they are, and how it's such a neglected subgenre of crime fiction. And when I was first shopping my book around, one editor said, what is it? What is that thing? And soft boiled. She hadn't heard of it. And another one said, it's not real, drop it. And I just disagree with that so strongly. I've had a few people read this book and leave negative reviews saying it didn't know what it was. Was it a cozy? Was it a thriller? Was it funny? But the vast majority of people appreciated that it was a little bit genre blending, which I personally find more interesting. I'd rather read those books, and it's more interesting for me to write. But it's a cozy with an edge is how I would describe soft boiled. And I think it's a genre that needs to come back because or be revived or be revered. And I think that a lot of publishing houses are missing something important, because in cozy novels, which I love them all. I particularly love hard-boiled crime fiction. But for women like me, women over 50, it's hard to recognize ourselves. It's hard to see ourselves in a cozy. That doesn't mean we don't like reading them. Getting your teapot on and your fuzzy socks and sitting by the fire and reading cozy is awesome. But you're not going to see yourself reflected there. Me and my friends are vibrant women who are in and out of relationships. Some of us have relationships, some don't. Some are retiring early. Some have fabulous careers. Some are changing careers. Some are going back to school. A lot of them drink, smoke, have sex, all kinds of things. They're online dating, all kinds of great things. And there's all kinds of tough things, as we all know, that come with being middle-aged. You know, your parents are sick and dying. Your friends are sick and dying. Your kids have left the home, divorce, all these kinds of things. So we want to read about these things. We also want to be distracted from those things. And in hard-boiled fiction, we're not really represented properly, not middle-aged women. You know, it's mostly tough guy PIs. Again, I love the genre. I love it. But, or, you know, sometimes like say Sue Grafton, this kind of thing, the women have to be younger just because of the sheer physicality of what they do as, you know, private eyes or even in police procedurals kind of thing. They're going to age out at 40, basically. Right. So I just think that I want that revived. I want cozy with an edge. I want to read those books that are about characters like me. But the main thing would be middle-aged females. And, you know, as a demographic, we're a marketer's dream. We've got more money than males in our age bracket. We've got time. We read books. We watch movies. We spend a lot of money, and we're completely ignored in the marketing world, completely ignored as a demographic. And it's just dumb.
Yeah.
So right now, as I said, there's a production company we're negotiating for either 3 movies or like 3 like streaming movies, like television movies, or perhaps a TV series based on my book series. And the big obstacle is her age. In the first book, she turns 50. And they've been going around, the production company's been going to different streamers and networks, and they are saying that the top age is 36. They won't. So if I want to go ahead with this, I have to make her no older than 36. And it feels like such a big selling out to me. And I don't know if I can do it. I just don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it would not only that, it changes the persona, right? It changes the person. At 30, 35 or 36, you're a different woman than you are at 50.
Yeah. I mean, and they still want her to have kids who have grown up and moved away like this character does. So it's okay. Well, she was either like a child bride, or then we said, okay, she got like pregnant at 21 and they've just left for uni. They're 18. Like, you know, that's what we had to do. But it's not only unfortunate, it just seems unintelligent to me. There's this demographic with we want to see ourselves reflected in various forms of media. We're willing to pay for it more than other demographics are willing to pay, and it's not available. It doesn't exist.
Well, you know, you women have been getting a little bit too aggressive lately.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, first thing they do is burn the bra, and now what? Now they want to have
Now we're growing our silver hair out.
Jeez.
Yeah.
You know, come on. We can see that. What are you doing?
I know.
Well, I think what it is it's a slow change. I think, like anything, we can all be aware of this now, but it won't really catch on in society for another generation or more. Do you know? It seems to take time, and it seems to be forever. But
the only thing I would say that might have might make that less true is the pandemic. You know, like everyone was changed, obviously, and there were negative things and there were a lot of good things that came out of it, right? People reevaluating work-life balance and all kinds of things. But there's a massive, I mean, I don't know if you guys are on Instagram, and if you are, you may not follow the hashtag Silver Sisters. There's all kinds of them, but these hashtags. But it's like when the hair salons were closed, for middle-aged women, one of the big things that happened in the pandemic was we couldn't get our hair done. And so there were gray roots, and everyone was horrified and shocked and wearing hats. And then something happened, and it was an online movement, and it's still, and I'm telling you, it's huge. We are talking tens of millions of women involved. Like it's fascinating, and it's fabulous, and they're such a supportive female community, but they just grew their hair out. They grew their silver hair out, and they just have these silver crowns, and they are rocking them, and all ages. I mean, there's some 30-year-old, there's women in their 20s with gray hair, and you're always going to look great if you're in your 20s or 30s. Your skin's great, but the women in their 40s and 50s and 60s, and they've got gray hair, don't care, and there's so much vitriol against them on social media. Again, like people seem like personally offended just by maybe older women. I don't know, but they're just doing it. And so anyway, the answer to the question, what I would like people to take away is that middle age is not an ending. It's the beginning of so many great things, and it can be the best time ever and lots of new beginnings. And the character in the book, the first book, she sells her, dream home that she raised her family in, and she leaves the town she spent her life in, and she just starts a whole new life. And I think that is an exciting thing. And I think I'd like women reading the book, particularly women reading the book. It's mostly geared to women, I would say. I was going to say one thing that I found fascinating is that I thought my book would mostly appeal to, say, women over 40. And the whole bookstagrammer community, which the vast majority of bookstagrammers are younger women, 30s for sure, 20s and 30s.
Oh, yeah.
And they embrace the book like crazy. And I thought, wow, how are they relating to this 50-year-old character? But they did. They loved her. They loved it. They want more. And I was really, really surprised by that, and obviously pleased.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to put a stop to this. This is
It's a tsunami. It's a silver tsunami.
Yeah. Well, I would join the Silver Sisters, but I don't really have any hair, so.
My hairdresser hates this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
She's not getting as much clientele.
It's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have much hair either, but.
Yeah. Well, you could take this woman and make her 30, 35, and she could have been from a child slave labor and been forced into prostitution or something.
Have the kids, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only reason I would do that then is agree to make her 35, I guess, is so I can cry all the way to the bank. But as far as just, being proud of the product or, carrying out my goal here, I wouldn't want to back down on that. And I said, she doesn't have to have that. Oh, I can change so many things, but please keep her 50, or even in the 40s. It's a big, I know. Nope.
Wow. I didn't realize that, but I guess, these, movie companies and television companies are the same as the book companies. They still have issues with what they consider to be minority and something that they don't think they can sell. It's weird,
yeah, but look at this stuff even, with queer authors and obviously all marginalized groups, that some of the biggest books this past year, Sean Cosby and all these fabulous writers of color, and it's still
a struggle. You can't name too many the big five publishers that actually publish gay authors. I mean, can you even name one? They always have to go through alternative routes to get out, and then it's a lot of work. Cosby had to go to the, and he was going to all the crime writing events and handing out books and doing stuff. It was a lot of work, and he's older. He's not like a 20-year-old kid. There's still a lot of struggle.
Absolutely.
It's not well, I think it's well accepted, and they're forcing people to realize that it is, big companies, and you're going to see a response from these big publishers all of a sudden getting their Cosby type thing, and it's sad, but
it's just awful. Yeah. And they're always just behind. They're just like that part of the publishing world. So many aspects of the publishing world, as we all know, it's just, they're dinosaurs.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. And I don't think I have the desire, that the wherewithal to like self-publish. It just seems like so much work. But
It is.
I admire the people who do, and the people who are doing great self-publishing. It's like, yes,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
No, it's a lot of work. I don't, I went through the publishing route, and I still have with 3 different publishers, but at the same time, I also self-publish. And it is a lot of work. But what you do is you meet a lot of people in your publishing journey. Like I've met some great cover designers. I've met some great editors and line editors and all sorts of stuff. And I can work with them on my own just as well as with the publishers. You know what I mean? You make connections. And
Yeah,
so you,
for
you can
sure.
put together a pretty good team and get something out that's equally as good as what the publisher's doing. But
It doesn't seem like the writers with the big 5, the vast majority are not getting huge amounts of support. I was just talking to one writer at a conference a couple months ago, and St. Martin's, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're supposed to say this out loud.
Well,
But she was just saying that they have a huge budget for marketing. And basically, you might have to cut this out. Basically, 100% of the budget goes to promoting Louise Penny.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's that, right? So maybe you're with a big 5 publisher, but yeah, maybe if you can pull it off, self-publishing is
Yeah. No,
better in a lot of ways.
What the publishers, all they guarantee you is at the bookstore, because they're kind of separating themselves now. You're going to have the publishers and Ingram Sparks kind of going through bookstores and all the channels to distribute you, and then it's going to be Amazon. So they've kind of drawn a line now. So if you're self-publishing and you just go through Amazon and you go to something like Ingram to try and do it, you're really kind of ignored. So you don't get the status. So like,
You mean they don't, if you're on Amazon? Like
Yeah,
Ingram doesn't want you on Amazon? Oh,
Yeah, and bookstores are not going to buy off of Amazon. They're kind of separating themselves. Ingram's not distributing books that are self-published in Amazon. Like there's kind of a war going on internally. So
does
it's going to,
anyone think that Amazon could lose any war?
well, I think it's like anything, but everything that is a day-to-day thing that we expect and we do every day, all of a sudden disappears. You can't name anything, from newspapers to television to movie theaters. All of these things hopefully people have learned that it's very replaceable, and Amazon's no different. I mean, it's kind of the day, but the next generation might not take to it. They might take to something else. You just don't know what the changes are. So Amazon shouldn't be too comfortable with this. But what happens is, I go through a publisher, those books are put in, I can go into any bookstore and they're there. And I can go to do a book signing and there's not a problem. If you don't go through that kind of channel, all of a sudden you're going through Amazon, bookstores aren't probably going to carry you. They're certainly not going to buy you. And they're not going to let you do a book signing that you don't pay for. So they're kind of starting to draw this line of either you are or you aren't, because that's the only way they could fight back to Amazon, to be honest.
Even the whole, like all my kids, they always try to buy from anything other than Amazon, including books. And even just the indie bookstores, so many authors too will say, if you can buy it from your indie bookstore, please do.
Yeah.
So that's still, an undercurrent for sure.
Yeah. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because with any business or any product, you don't want just one person or one group being the distributor and maker of it. It always leads to issues and corruption. So I would say no. So I like doing both, but I get, it's funny because even when I go to do a book signing, a lot of the bookstores, the ones that were self-published, they won't let me sign for.
The ones, but you don't put your books on Amazon, then you're saying?
Yeah, some I do and some I don't, or some I do different versions for. I've learned the hard way that if I'm publishing, I need to do a different version for Amazon than I do for the bookstores. Otherwise, when I go to do the book signing, I can only have the ones that they distribute on the table to sign for. So ones that you've just distributed through Amazon, they're like, no, sorry, you can't do those. It's a learning business, but I can see where it's going. They're kind of got their claws in, and that's their response to Amazon. And it will be successful to a little degree. It will, because it'll become complicated for self-publishers, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
I really do admire it, though. It's so much work, but I think that people like yourself and so many others who are rocking self-publishing are just more power to you.
I think so, and I think it's opening the door for each generation, because now it's become a norm. It's not unusual for someone to come up and kind of go, well, I'll self-publish, and to think about it and try to do it. Whereas, 10 years ago, forget it.
It was just the whole vanity thing too. You're only self-publishing because no one else wants you.
Right,
and it's
right.
Not
You're
the
paying
way now.
for it, and it's done. And it's like, well, and there is that. But the idea that you can actually put something out and distribute it and actually sell thousands of copies is pretty cool. And I think that will catch on with the younger people coming up in this world of writing and art, and kind of go, yeah, why can't I? Because in a way, if you compare it to live bands, the old couple of people get together and start to perform their own music, and they have to kind of get out there and sell themselves through different bars and clubs and stuff, and to get the deal. And they would make their own EP or their own single and pay for it and put it out there and try to, it's the same sort of thing. It gives you that extra chance to make it.
True. And you make, instead of making $1 a book, you make your whole $16 a book.
Yeah, it's cool. I think it's a good thing. And we'll get over this. I think right now it's kind of over inundated, like there's too many things being published. So the competition is extreme, they're putting out so many books every day, Who do you like, so when you're doing like your day, like what's your process? Are you the type of person that can just sort of go, well, the next 5 days, nobody bug me. I'm turning my phone off. I'm 9 to 5. I'm writing and doing whatever. Or do you have to wait till the mood hits you? All of a sudden you go, oh, this is it. You're in the middle of a supermarket and you got this idea. And so you run out without paying for your stuff, and you get home. And
do I take my stuff with me though?
Yeah, of course,
Okay.
because they know that's that famous Arthur.
Yeah.
So we won't touch her. And so you go home, and then you just can write it out. Like which kind of scenario do you fall into?
Yeah, I very, very sadly have to wait until the gun is cocked at my temple. And it's basically impossible for me to write this many words in this many weeks or months. And then I start, it's a torturous way to go through life. So but I feel like I'll go months without writing, but I am thinking about writing, and I'm writing stories in my head, and I'm creating characters, and I'm hearing dialogue, and I make notes, just constantly make little notes. And then when I start writing, I do write really fast, but I'll do like 15-hour days and curse like crazy after 8 p.m. when I'm cross-eyed with exhaustion, but still have to keep going. And I don't hand stuff in late. I get it done. I wish so much I was like a 2,000 words a day person, and then went for a nice walk and everything. But it's never happened. So I'm kind of giving up the hope. But yeah, I'm everything is flipping extreme with me, I tell you.
Yeah. Well, those ones that say that they can just sit and write, and they're in a nice grass field in a farm somewhere and everything's perfect, and I don't believe them.
Yeah, I really admire the people who are like right on the bus on their way to work, and Stephen King being in a little laundry room and things like that. But yeah, I need quiet. I can't like write in a cafe or anything, but I just like, and me finding quiet now that my kids are gone is like super easy. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. But still, I'll still like stare out the window for 3 hours until I'm like out of time, and then I'll start typing.
So are you like that Kathy Bates and that Misery. You're out there in this.
Oh God, I love that
And
movie.
some guy's going to drive in a Mustang, and you're going to smash his ankles and have him tied up. And,
So I left that part out of my book about what I did to my ex. But yeah,
this is the unscripted. This is the part that people have to pay for. You see, you get a website now and charge $9.95 for the stuff that's not in the book, and that's what you
cutting room floor stuff.
Yeah.
No, I'm really scared of Kathy Bates, and I see people like Kathy Bates in the woods all the time. They're not there, but I see them.
Oh. Wow. So are you seeing people in the woods now? So are you? And you
always
and you're hearing voices and that. So do you find that you wake up in the middle of the night and there's like muddy shoes by the bed and there's a shovel or something?
Yeah, that's my life. My kids are scared of everything. We just did scary things and told scary stories by candlelight and scared each other all the time. But I am a really big scaredy cat. I have so many good ideas. I could never write a horror. And I did a podcast with a guy who does, at the end of his podcast, he does he reads a random sentence from a book, and then I say a sentence, he says a sentence, I say a sentence, he says a sentence, and you build a story for a few minutes. And the end of our story, which was really, really good. And at the end of the story, he said, wow, we were supposed to do a mystery. That was a horror. I'm like, was it? And that's just where my mind goes, I think. But I scare the bejeebers out of myself basically every day.
Wow. So it's a good thing you're out there on your own. So, so what do you do now for social media and for hookups? Have you got have you got a website?
For hookups, Tinder. No,
I was going to say, Tinder, right? Whatever you can. But what information do you want listeners to have about you? Do you want to give out your website, social media, apps, phone number, address? What are you hoping for with readers?
I'll definitely give my phone number because I like to scare myself. No. So my website is my name, GabrielleSt.George.com. And I'm most active, pretty much just active on Instagram and Facebook, and not as active as I should be. And I have a Twitter account, and this is how non-active I am on social media, unfortunately. But I will get my SHIT together soon. I'm sure. I also start writing 1,000 words a day, every day, 300 days a year soon, maybe. But both are unlikely. But I got a call an email from, the CBC and all these different news outlets, and even Der Spiegel in Germany. And they're like, oh my God, can we interview you? You just went viral on Twitter. I'm like, what? I don't even go on Twitter. And I went viral on Twitter. I opened my computer and there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails and messages and everything. So 30 years ago, I wrote this, I created, wrote, and produced this animated Christmas special. And I didn't know, it's been ongoing for 6 years. This is how out of it I am, that it was the Twitter mystery. The New Yorker did a piece on it last month, CNN, Newsweek, just nuts. Anyway, there was this mystery. They're trying to figure out what show this was. And it turned out someone cracked the mystery, and it was my show. And then I was inundated, and they're like, where have you been? This has been going on for a few years. I'm like, you're on Twitter. I'm like, I'm on Twitter, but I'm not on Twitter. So that's how bad I am with social media, but I'm optimistic that will change.
Yeah. Because you're never going to get a date if you don't go on.
Right. But yeah, the whole Twitter thing, I think now there was at 14 million engagement on the thing. It's just it went viral. It was crazy. And I didn't know. So
wow.
There you go.
That's when you go on and you start showing skin and doing the Kim Kardashian and all that. And,
right. Yeah.
And starting getting, collecting money here.
Almost broke the internet. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to get in there. No, I think it's a good thing, to interact. It seems to be the way of, today. It's the times. Do you ever kind of get into people that review your stuff, or do you follow that? Or do you look at that? Do you care?
Yeah, I care. I do care. I do care. And Yeah, I think overall the first book has 4 stars, like whether it's NetGalley or Amazon and else kind of thing, 4 stars. And it shouldn't have 5 stars. It's
Right.
not the great American novel. It's not, the best novel I've written or a work of art. It's not, but it's good. And 4 stars, I'm super pleased with. I wouldn't give anything 5 stars. Like I would give some things 5 stars. Alice Hoffman gets 5 stars. But I do care. And then some of them are like nasty. Some of the reviews. And I just hate, I'm like, why do that? Like, why try to hurt someone or harm someone? Like, don't say anything. Just go away. It's like the big, like DNF. I got 2 of them. DNF. Not my cup of tea. And then someone, this big horrible thing about not my cup of tea and didn't like it. And then at the end they put, maybe I was just in a bad mood that day. Maybe I'll give it another try. I'm like, don't post. Why'd you post this?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, some people, I think they're just having, it's themselves that they're expressing, not necessarily what they're reading or writing about. So, it's their own issue. They're having that kind of a day. And I used to hunt them down and have them killed, but I don't anymore. But yeah, I used to. It's serious.
You'll never. I'm completely aware that no book is everyone's cup of tea. Like
No.
Alice Hoffman is my favorite writer of all time, and there's people who don't like her, and I don't understand. I just don't get it at all. But it's okay. You never can please everybody. And the vast majority of reviews were just heartwarming and lovely, and really made me happy. I wish I didn't care, but I do care.
Yeah, I don't so much anymore. I go back and you've got when you go to these Goodreads and stuff, and you can see your name and your books, and then you can say the overall rating is 3.8 or 4 or something. That's great, fantastic, good enough. That's all I need to know. I don't care because I think I'm a 2. So this is a good thing.
Wow, 3.8.
Yeah. So this is great. I write a 2, they give me a 4. Hey,
Yeah, it's that constant, the whole imposter syndrome. Like
Yeah.
I've been writing for a long time, but they're going to figure out that I really can't string a sentence together. I'm just waiting for the other shoe to fall.
Yeah. No, I just admit it. When they tell me I'm bad, I say they're absolutely right. You can't write. No, I can't.
I get that.
Do the Andy Warhol thing, Anyway. Well, it's been a pleasure. It's been lovely. It's always good talking to a Canadian because they're so nice.
Aw.
Yeah,
this was fun, guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate being invited on. It was really good. Thank you.
Well, good. Now, so of course, we'll have your book and your website up on ours so people can find you with one click when they're listening. They can just go click. And they
Super.
can send in their bad review and say how bad they
Yes.
are. We'll take it. So, How to Kill a Kingpin. This second book, The Ex-Whisperer Files, number 2. And that's Gabrielle St. George, the Canadian. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much, Alan and Dave. Really, really appreciate the time. It was a good time.
Thanks, Gabrielle.
You've been listening to the House of Mystery radio show. To find out more about our guests, hosts, or show, go to www.houseofmystery.com.
Show's over for now.
Was it as good for you as it was for me?
Yeah. Good night.
This has been a production of Something Weird Media.
I'll be back.